which is a bureaucracy. So aside from the cost of these communities, you have all the people that work, not just in prisons, but you have all the people that work in courthouses, all the law enforcement people. Essentially, this huge bureaucracy that is kind of a mirror image of the guys in prison, in the sense that the bureaucrats and technocrats who are doing this work are also wasting their time, in a sense. They're doing, I mean, they don't feel like they're wasting their time, but in fact, they're essentially processing the criminal justice system endlessly. If you go down to downtown San Diego to the courthouse, there are dozens of people who all they do all day is sit at a window, sort of Kafka-esque. They sit at a window and essentially process paperwork and take money from people who are paying court fees, are paying the cost that they have to incur to participate in a drug diversion program. My point is that is also a huge waste. So it's not just the cost of prisons. I think there are two other major ways in which this is becoming a vortex. And governing crime is what I'm arguing, and I'm drawing on this person, Jonathan Simon, is the idea that we, in the last 30 years, since 1980, have essentially started to think of crime and criminalization as a way to organize our society. And I just took this picture this morning. It's the library at SCSU. I don't know if you can read it, but it says theft and mutilation of library material will result in criminal prosecution. So this is an instance, I think, an example you can see right here at school, where rather than think of missing library books as a problem to be addressed through some other means, it's just commonsensical to us that we think of hammering. If somebody's stealing a library book, we hammer them with the criminal justice system. And this is to use a fancy word, it's hegemonic, right? It's something that we participate in, and it's having deleterious effects on our society, but it seems commonsensical to us. And it's just things just like this. I mean, I have no idea how many people get prosecuted. Probably very few, but the point is that it's thought of as sensible. A little bit of background. Many of you may know that the United States has the highest incarceration rate and also highest total number of incarcerated people in the world. And at the same time as having this high incarceration rate, we have very, very high crime rates, which should, how many of you guys are social majors? So you guys all know your Durkheim, I hope. So you know that when you see something like high crime rates and then you have high incarceration rates, that should be like the canary in the coal mine, letting you know that there's something going on that's wrong in your society. If you have high incarceration rates, it doesn't make sense that you'd have high crime rates, right? Because you think that you'd have all the bad guys locked up, but we don't. The U.S. does not have the highest crime rates in the world, but that's something that's very hard to calculate and track for lots of reasons. And some of the countries that have higher crime rates than the United States are kind of civil war countries. Colombia has a very high crime rate. I believe Colombia's been in civil conflict for 45 years or something like that. Mexico has a very high crime rate. Russia, with the advent of capitalism in Russia, the crime rate went through the roof. But in comparison to other sort of peer nations to the United States, European countries, Australia, Canada, the Asian countries like Japan and Korea, our crime rate is way, way higher.